Everyone, Robert Ferringo of Doc Sports here with the next team on my NFL Power Rankings Countdown. Today we have the number 25 team, the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I guess the honeymoon might kind of be over. Is it over a little too soon in Las Vegas? They're starting to see that this is one of the more dysfunctional organizations in football that it has been for a really, really long time, that Mark Davis is probably ill-equipped to be an NFL owner. And the luster is kind of wearing off pretty quickly in Vegas surrounding this Raiders team, I feel like. This is also, it's kind of the last stand, last chance, kind of, I feel like, for Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, these guys are both at crossroads in their career. If Josh McDaniels fails here in Las Vegas, I don't know that he's ever going to get another head coaching job after the flame out that he had in Denver. Really, he's had no success outside of New England, which isn't surprising. That's kind of par for the course with Bill Belichick assistants. Once they get away from Belichick and Brady, they get exposed. So this might be his last chance. If I feel like if the Raiders go 6-11 or 5-12, or they just have another terrible season, that they may pull the plug on McDaniels. McDaniels ran Derek Carr out of town, which, again, people don't give Derek Carr enough credit for what he was able to do in this dysfunctional Raiders organization. So they bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. He was hurt during the offseason. I know, surprise, surprise, Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt. Nobody ever saw that coming. It also feels like kind of a last chance for him. If he can't stay healthy, if he is not an effective quarterback, I don't know that he's going to get too many more chances to be a starting quarterback in this league. And look, maybe you're out there, maybe you're rooting for these two guys. Maybe you're rooting for McDaniels and Garoppolo to overcome, right? And to write that next act in their career. I just don't see it. I think we know who these guys are at this point. Jimmy Garoppolo could not get over the hump in San Francisco with one of the best rosters in the NFL. He's certainly not going to do any better in Las Vegas. I know everyone's like, oh, he knows the system and he's familiar with McDaniels from his time in New England. That was a long time ago, okay? And just knowing the system doesn't mean that he's going to be any good in it, all right? Fortunately, they do have a plethora of offensive weapons, okay? The Raiders are going to be a little bit dangerous because of what they can do, what they can put out on the field. Guys like Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers. That's a real solid three-man group right there. But again, they ran Darren Waller out of town, who's tearing it up for the Giants this preseason. He's one of the best tight ends in football. Don't really understand that. They've managed to piss off Josh Jacobs. There's been contractual issues there, and there's just not a good vibe surrounding this team because of what's going on with Josh Jacobs. And to be completely honest with you, Josh Jacobs is going to get hurt this year. Led the league in rushing last year. He had 340 carries, 393 touches last year. Got running backs that crossed that threshold one year. They don't have a great track record the following season. So do not be surprised if Josh Jacobs, tries to play out this franchise tag and he gets injured because he was overworked last year. McDaniels, they talk about him as an offensive guru, right? He's an offensive guru. Well, he sure does struggle a lot without Tom Brady. In 6 seasons as an offensive coordinator without Tom Brady, his attacks, his offenses have finished on average 19th in the league in total offense and 19th in scoring. This guy's not had all these top 10 offenses without Tom Brady. So I really think the jury is still out on Josh McDaniels and his competence. Then the big problem for this team, it's not even McDaniels, whether or not he can coach. It's not even Garoppolo, whether or not he can be healthy and or effective. It's not even the depth behind Josh Jacobs. It's the defense. Okay, the Raiders have no depth, very little talent. Max Crosby is awesome on that side of the ball. Maybe they'll get something out of Chandler Jones this year. Maybe this guy is just playing out the string of that big contract. But the Raiders' back seven is one of the worst in the AFC. There's nothing there. And again, their defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham, has been terrible. Patrick Graham's last 4 defenses and the 3 teams that he has been the defensive coordinator for have finished an average of number 23 in the league in total defense. There's just nothing there. There's not talent. There's not a good scheme. There's not good coaching. They're not going to have a good defense. And in the division that they're in, with Mahomes, Herbert, reinvigorated Russell Wilson, you can't be that bad on defense unless your offense is just Mahomes, Kansas City-esque, and the Raiders aren't there. McDaniels isn't that guy. Okay, so it should be another long season for Las Vegas. Now, this is a team, I think they're going to be a little bit better at the window than they have been. They're 32-34 against the spread. It's always going to be hard to find value on the Raiders because they're the hometown team in Las Vegas. So the books are going to kind of play with their numbers a little bit, anticipating that square money, that Raider fan money coming in on them. So they haven't been very good against the number. I think they might be a little bit better this year because they can score some points. I can see this team getting blown out a lot and then sneaking in the back door, putting up a lot of garbage time scoring and yards and things like that. Now, they do have some indicators that were pointing towards a stronger season. Last year, they had horrendous luck in close games. They had 8 losses by 1 score. They had 5 losses by 3 points or less. They were Pythagorean underachievers by 2.1 games. That means they were 2 games better than what their record was last year. That puts them in a positive regression zone for this year, which means they were a better team last year than people realize. They should be even better this season. But I just don't see it. Their schedule is brutal. The AFC West, they're obviously the 4th best team in that 4-team division. That's 6 tough divisional games right there. They also cross over with the AFC East, which for my money is the 2nd best division. And football, which is absolutely loaded. That means 2 East Coast trips to play some teams. I just don't see it. That's 10 very difficult games for the Raiders right there. So I don't see this team competing for a postseason berth. Originally, their season win total opened at 7.5. Loved the under there. Absolutely loved the under. Apparently, a lot of sharp people did too, because that number has been bet down to 6.5. Some of that was regarding Garoppolo's injury issues. They didn't know if he was going to be able to make it back. He's practicing in training camp, so he's going to be fine. So if you can still find a 7.5 out there, or if that number creeps up through training camp, then the under is absolutely the play at 7.5. But at 6.5, that's right where I have this Raider team. I think they're a 6 or 7 win team, and I feel like that's being a little bit optimistic. If there are some injuries to some of those skill players on offense, this thing could go off the rails very, very quickly. People could quit on Josh McDaniels like they did in Denver. I just don't have a real good positive vibe about this team. I just don't think the Raiders are going to be very good this year. So that's where it stands. Be sure to check back tomorrow for the next team on my NFL Power Rankings countdown. Until then, carpe diem and good luck.